balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Scott Geirman. Scott, it's September 19th. The Dodgers are down 2-0. They had every reason in the world to roll over and move on to tomorrow, but they don't. Mookie Betts is flying 120 miles an hour around third base in the bottom of the ninth. Max Muncy, a walk-off single. And yet again, Scott, the Dodgers win 3-2.
Yeah, no, it was looking bleak early on, just kind of a late September game, just didn't really matter too much. And they still find a way. So, it was nice to see some pitching. We'll talk about all that. There's a lot to break down tonight. A lot of good, not a lot of bad. Results didn't happen so much with big scoring, but a lot of guys are looking better at the plate. Pitchers are looking solid. It just, it's a good win here, man. It fires me up when late game, you just feel like they're just going to find a way. Starts with the stars. Guys go up there, have solid at-bats, and Max Muncy's able to catch a barrel, end the ball game. Let's find a win.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, look, the Dodgers offense was basically non-existent for the middle half of that game. They loaded the bases in the first inning, came away with nothing, didn't put another runner in scoring position until the seventh when Freddie Freeman grounded into a double play. But they get one back in the eighth on a David Peralta double. And all of a sudden, then that's when everything shifts because it's a 2-out. The Dodgers had nobody on with 2 outs in the bottom of the eighth. JD Martinez singles, Chris Taylor pinch run, steals second. And then David Peralta bloops one down the line for an RBI double. And it's 2-2. And as soon as that happened, you're like, all right, this is a wrap. Like, there's no way the Dodgers are losing at this point. And again, Scott, I can't emphasize enough. There's people that are going to say, oh, the Tigers suck. Like, why do they need to walk off the Tigers? How could this happen? It's September 19th. The Dodgers literally have nothing to play for. They were down 2-0 in this game. The offense couldn't buy a break. Peralta had like 3 balls absolutely smashed, had no hits. Everything was pointing towards a lesser team would have just rolled over. Hey, we don't need this one. Who cares? We can't catch the Braves. We've basically clinched the number 2 seed. We're already in the playoffs. We clinched the division. Who cares? September 19th. Wake me up tomorrow. We play them again. We'll go get that one. But this team just simply doesn't quit. And it's the guys like Taylor who's stealing second base. It's the guys like Peralta. And Mookie Betts freaking flying around second base and third base to score on a liner that one-hopped and popped straight up to the right fielder, who, by the way, made a pretty freaking good throw, and Mookie Betts beats it. You call them the gritty Dodgers. You deserve the credit. Like, this is gritty. When you talk about clubhouse culture, this is clubhouse culture coming back on a night like tonight to beat the Tigers.
Man, that sounds good how you said it. 109 mile an hour, 110 mile an hour liner for Max Muncy. Mookie Betts is able to score on that.
Yeah.
Crazy. So,
and pretty good throw. I mean, it was a few feet offline, but pretty good throw.
Bang, bang type of stuff. So, back to what you said, why are they having to walk off the Tigers here in late September? Why is this, so important? AJ Hinch was playing this, he was managing to win this ball game. Yep. So we're going matchup ball from, first inning on. Diaz goes 2/3, immediately goes to the bullpen. And it's not like they threw just chunk arms out there. These guys are big league pitchers. So he didn't just throw D squad stuff. Just because they're on the Tigers doesn't mean they're bad. He actually AJ Hinch put out some, real solid slew of arms, wound up. We were able to, break through on Lange, who's been really good. He's been solid this year. So he's had a tough week as of late. Shout out to my buddy for his terrible fantasy lines on that. But this had all the makings of, so much to break down in terms of looking ahead towards the postseason. I really like to know where you want to start because, man, we got a lot to chat about, dude.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's the Gratterall story. There's some quotes from Dave Roberts on the front end about Gratterall and Ferguson as an opener. There's Ryan Pepiot once again being fantastic. There's the Dodgers offense that, look, I know they only scored 3 runs, but you look at this, Mookie Betts 3 for 5, Freddie Freeman 2 for 5. I mean, everybody in the top 6 in the order. I mean, look, if you would have given me 10-1 odds and say pick the one Dodger basically that can't get a hit tonight, and it's Jason Hayward, the guy who's been friggin' scorching hot, Miguel Rojas. Those two, the only 2 guys in the starting lineup who don't get a hit, who are basically have felt like have been 2 of their best hitters for the last, few weeks. But Mookie 3 hits, Freddie 2 hits, Smith, Muncy a hit, JD 2 for 2 with a pair of walks. Peralta gets the RBI double. Outman, keeps the inning alive with the single. It just everything that this team put together. And to your point, there's lots of ways we could start. And I think we have to start with the walk-off, which we've talked about. But let's talk about Pepiot, because I don't know what more this guy needs to do, Scott. 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. He didn't start the game. Ferguson's the opener. Again, we'll get to Gratterall and Ferguson and the opener stuff in a little bit. But Pepiot's the story here. 6 innings, 6 base runners, just 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts. He lowers his season ERA to 1.91. And when Dave Roberts was asked about the playoff starting rotation a week or so ago, Pepiot wasn't even mentioned. It was, oh yeah, we're lining up Kershaw, Bobby Miller, and Lance Lynn in some order. And when I talked to Andy McCullough, it's like, come on, of course Lance Lynn is starting a postseason game. Like, he's a vet, he'll eat innings, yada, yada, yada. Ryan Pepiot's fantastic, Scott. And he's been nothing but fantastic since coming up and getting healthy, I should say, and getting an opportunity at the major league level this season. And yet again, and the thing, Scott, that stood out to me maybe the most was that 6th inning. We've seen Dodgers young guys, especially over the past couple of weeks. Dave tests them. He leaves them out there and says, all right, you're going to put some traffic on in your last inning. You're tired. You're 95 pitches. Can you work through it? Well, guess what? Pepiot got through it, put a couple guys on in what was the 7th inning, his 6th inning. And I can't say enough. I can't say enough about how good Pepiot has been. And he wasn't perfect tonight, but he was plenty good. Again, 6 base runners in 6 innings, 4 Ks and 1 earned run. Come on now.
Yeah, no, just like you said, that's why I was exactly going to start with that final inning from him. 7th inning, he really goes up there and grinds. Heard Jessica Mendoza and Joe Davis talking about, maybe they're pausing here, waiting for Roberts to give some more time for the bullpen to do it. And that call never came. And I actually really like that. We've talked a bunch recently about how this is going to be, we talked about this a while ago, that you're going to see Dave put some pitchers and players in spots looking ahead. And this felt exactly like that moment, that it could have gone one of 2 ways. And Pepiot battled, man. Like, he went up there and, didn't get a strikeout, but he was able to work his way out of it. Balls really didn't carry too much tonight. He was able to get a fly out to end that inning. He just, he looked like a young pitcher up there saying, this is where I've got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved every second of it.
Look, that inning started out single for Miguel Cabrera, gets a pinch runner, single for Nevin. So you got 1st and 3rd, no outs. He gets bailed out because there's the bunt to the pitcher. He plays it well, gets the guy at home. And then it's a fly out and a fly out. To your point, it was, again, I want to emphasize, I don't think this was the best game he's ever pitched. 6 hard hit balls, which isn't exactly perfect. You look at some of the whiff numbers, it didn't feel like they were great.
Yeah, 12 whiffs.
Yeah, 12 whiffs, 25%, which is like average to below average, somewhere in there. But again, that's, to me, Scott, that's more the test. That's more the sign of a guy that I can trust is he didn't have his A+ stuff tonight. And yes, it's the Tigers, but got the job done. Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of stuff we saw from him tonight. I really want to talk about Caleb Ferguson in that 1st inning as well. But Ryan Pepiot, his changeup, we saw what it is, had a lot of good depth tonight. His fastball command, I really did enjoy. That's something that tonight from a lot of the Dodgers pitchers, if not all, I really enjoyed their fastball command. They're throwing that with conviction, and that's something that they'll have to do and be able to get that whiff. Pepiot was able to generate 8 whiffs there, and we're getting chases outside of the zone, which is terrific. You're able to stay on that same plane, work in glove side, work that outer half. If your umpire is giving you that call, keep pounding it there. And you're able to see that. I'd have to pull that up here. And Vesia, especially, he, for me, that was terrific. He goes out there, there's just a bunch, man. Fastball command was big for me today. I highlighted that. I circled that on my notepad. It was something that I really am enjoying this because in October, you might, late October, you might not be able to see someone snap off a breaking ball in a big gotta be count. And that 4-seam command tonight was just a thing of beauty.
Yeah. Pepiot's fastball was in the zone 70% of the time. To your point, he gets 8 whiffs on the fastball. That's a 38% whiff rate. For the season, he's only getting 22% whiffs. And when I say he didn't have his A+ stuff, he got 18 swings on the changeup and just 1 whiff. That's 6%. If you look at his season mark, he's getting 32% whiffs on that changeup. So he goes from 30 a pitch that he's normally getting swings and misses 1/3 of the time. He gets it 6% of the time. And what does he do? One earned, 6 base runners in 6 innings. Great stuff there.
Yep.
Again, so much we're going to get to tonight. Ferguson as the opener, some quotes about Gratterall and Ferguson, Shelby Miller as an opener. We're going to get to the Gratterall storyline because that was a great moment. Alex Vesia is a storyline worth talking about.
Man.
So tons to get to. So, hey, folks on YouTube joining us live, thank you so much. For those on Facebook joining us live, we appreciate you as well. We're going to hopefully have some time for question and answer at the end. So save your questions for that. We are going to bring you in for player of the game and that kind of thing. If you do want to leave a super chat on YouTube, those are the type of things we stop what we're talking about and get to right away. But let's get to the opener. Caleb Ferguson comes in and starts this game for the Dodgers. He looked good to start, Scott. Strikeout, but then he gives up an absolute tank to Spencer Torkelson before getting another strikeout. So he faces 4 batters, 3 strikeouts, and a home run. The interesting thing was Dave was asked before the game, is Ferguson the type of guy that if you go opener route in the postseason that you like? And he said yes. Ferguson and Gratterall, maybe Shelby Miller, the 3 names that you would see. There's a lot of intrigue there, because Caleb Ferguson, in my opinion, has not been awesome. If you look at him since the All-Star break, 1.67 walks and hits per inning pitched. That's a terrible number. Like, that's not even average. That's atrocious. The strikeouts have still been good. The run prevention has still been, for the most part, pretty good, even after tonight. I think over that stretch, it's like a 2.57 ERA. But Ferguson has struggled, and yet he's probably still their best left-handed reliever. So give me your thoughts on Ferguson, maybe one lefty that you trust, depending on what you think about Vesia, and the Dodgers potentially using him as an opener.
Yeah, no, Caleb Ferguson, he was very impressive today. Early
despite
on,
the home run.
Yeah, despite the home run, it just looked like he made one bad pitch.
Yeah,
he looked dominant before that. He goes, 1, 2, 3, leader start off the game, 3 straight 4-seamers.
Yeah,
and gets back-to-back punch outs. That was fantastic. And then you roll over to Torkelson. Can we ban Spencer Torkelson from Dodger Stadium, please? Because he was putting a little BP home run derby a little bit. He almost had a couple, but Caleb Ferguson looked in command. He looked comfortable. I like that role. If he's able to pound it again, fastball dominance, throw it with conviction. The one cutter that was his worst pitch. You look at his heat map. That was the one cutter he laid right smack dab in the heart of the plate. So that was just a bad one. Unloads it. 385. It was just a tank. So I like that.
It's interesting because, like, to your point, it was the full experience, because I just struggle when you're only in for 1 inning and you're a reliever and a high leverage, like, you can't make the one mistake. So yes, he threw, however many pitches he threw. And I know he got, 6 whiffs on 10 swings, which is a big number. He threw 17 pitches. He made, let's call it, 1 mistake, but the 1 mistake got punished. I'm not saying it was a dreadful experience. I'm just saying, like, Ferguson as a guy that I've backed, I feel like, for a few years and have been super high on, like, hey, is this maybe the best reliever the Dodgers have outside of Evan Phillips? Since the All-Star break, Scott, it hasn't been awesome. That's the part that worries me.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's all situational. I think for Caleb Ferguson, the whole role for that, like for the opener, when I know that I think they said that the Dodgers are going to continue to use them going forward, and, heavy, like that will be a thing. So I think it'll be situational, top of the batting order stuff, whatever matchup's best. Yeah. But if you're asking me, which lefty is going to be available late that you're more comfortable with? Runners on base. Yeah. Who are you more comfortable with?
I'll ask you that. Do you trust Ferguson or Vesia more with runners on in the 7th or 8th inning?
Honestly, now, I'm going to say Vesia.
First and second, lefty up at the dish and 2 outs, and you get to bring in a lefty to get you out of the inning. You're going Vesia?
I'm going to say Vesia. I'm just going to, because of who they have. I mean, it's a wow, but you look at that, we talked last week about, how few the left-handed options were, like high leverage lefties. Who are you trusting? One spot there. I'm just going to say Vesia at the moment. I like it when his fastball plays up. I think that his glove side command for me, or his arm side command, is a little bit better for me. Work against a righty. I know that the splits haven't been great for everyone, but I'm just going to say Vesia at the moment. They set that up tonight. Perhaps we see it flipped, but I think they like Vesia a little bit more pitching at the back end of games. And just because Ferguson can give you more than one inning, like that's a thing that if he goes up there and goes 1, 2, 3, you're going to extend that. It's just about shortening the game for whatever bulk guy you're coming, after that. So that's just for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to hear from people in the chat, like who you trust more out of Ferguson and Vesia. I feel like for the most part, people are way less concerned, or way more concerned about Vesia. We've had conversations of like, is this even a guy that you want on the postseason roster?
It's like this.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's interesting is, to your point, surprisingly, Vesia is actually the guy that's given more length than Ferguson. I don't think Ferguson's gotten them more than 3 outs since July 24th was the last time for him. Vesia, on the other hand, has actually done it surprisingly a lot. And I think I tweeted this out in his last 14 appearances. He's now got earned runs in one of those 14 appearances, but he got them 4 outs September 13th. He got 5 outs September 8th. He got 4 outs September 2nd, 5 outs on August 31st. So Vesia is actually the guy of late that they've trusted there. But I'm with you. I mean, I don't, let me put it this way. I don't think there's a huge gap between Caleb Ferguson and Alex Vesia. And the difference is what Dave Roberts said is that Ferguson is kind of neutral splits. He's not a guy that has huge splits, righties, lefties, which that's the thing with the opener, right? If you put Caleb Ferguson in there and announce him as your starter and righties crush him or whatever, like they're going to be able to adjust their lineup to say, well, we're going to put 3 righties up at the top. Against Vesia, whereas Ferguson kind of works equally well against lefties and righties, I believe. I didn't check the numbers, but that was the suggestion Dave was making. I just thought it was interesting that they would think about Ferguson when we're here debating, does Vesia even make the postseason roster? And yet they're going to burn one of only 2 lefty relievers that you really feel good about. I mean, I shouldn't even say feel good. 2 lefty relievers that are even in the conversation. I'm not including Yarbrough here because I think he's a bulk guy. That's just interesting to me. And I would add too, Scott, that Gratterall's their 3rd best reliever right now. I mean, him and Brazier may be tied for 2nd behind Evan Phillips of guys you trust. Joe Kelly, I suppose, could be in that mix. I was surprised at the idea that Gratterall, they would potentially use him as an opener. Shelby Miller, that type of guy, makes way more sense to me. Although I guess you could argue that Shelby Miller might be the worst relief pitcher they have on the roster in the postseason. And do you want that guy facing the top of the order? I don't know. So what I'm gathering is you're fine with Ferguson as an opener. What do you think about Gratterall?
Sure. Yeah, we've seen it come right out the gate. You're seeing 101 with a ton of run.
But you're okay burning him in the 1st inning and not saving him for a 7th or an 8th tough spot?
Situational, man. Like it just all depends on what they've got. Like, where do you feel this? So yeah, if it just all depends.
I mean, because that's like the thing, right? The opener, it's not situational. You don't even know what you're getting into. It's empty bases and the top of the order. So it just feels like to me,
lineup wise, I'm talking about. So that's, they look at historical data. I think they would prefer using either like Ferguson. I think they'd be okay with that. Yeah. If you pull up Ferguson, like, and Vesia, as far as like inherited runners scored, allowed, their sample size, it's really similar. I think Vesia has just been a little bit better, which is why they probably prefer him later game. Like, I don't think they mind burning Ferguson early on, but if they are going to experiment with Brusdar early on, I mean, yeah, like that's just about shortening the game for your bulk guy. You're able to take out whoever is comfortable, whatever stuff is going to go up there, and able to take down the top of the order, top 3rd, top 4 guys, however long they go. Are you comfortable with that? Like, is that something that is going to be beneficial later game for that bulk guy? And it will be. Like, whether people like seeing an opener or not, if it's something that the pitchers are comfortable doing, that bulk guy's okay coming out of the bullpen for his bulk appearance, then sure, by any means. But I think my situational thing is all depending on the lineup that they're going to be facing. That's just for me, because just like we saw AJ Hinch, like he brought in a lefty to face, Peralta right there, right at the beginning of the game, and got out of that jam, because that looked like a spot where it was like, okay, they're going to get some runs early on. So that's what it is. That's exactly how it'll be worked.
Yeah. And look, Pepiot has shown you that he doesn't need to be the guy who takes the ball top of the first batter of the game. He gave you 6 great innings coming in the 2nd inning. And so look, Ferguson pitching the 1st and Pepiot pitching the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised would I be if that's game 3 of the NLDS? I'll put it at like a 3. I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think it's not a 0 because Lance Lynn is looming, but they just gave you the roadmap that they could throw out there in game 3 of the NLDS. Do you have Pepiot ahead of Lance Lynn, Scott? Like, if you were in charge?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, look, other than he's a veteran, like, Lynn doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt in my book, the same way that Clayton Kershaw does. Obviously, like, that's the understatement of the year, but I feel like it's like, wow, they're both veteran guys. Like, no, one of them's the greatest of all time and the other leads the league in home runs given up. So, like, I think we can put those guys in different categories. Pepiot has been fantastic every step of the way. So good stuff there.
Last thing to that point is that I know that it's only how many outings for Pepiot here. He has 6 outings. Is this right? Yeah, 6. Okay. So 3 starts. I mean, the other ones he's coming out of the bullpen. So however you want to look at it. We've seen Lance Lynn, that slide happen real fast. Yeah. We have not seen that tumble of that snowball effect from Pepiot this year, yet. So, against San Diego, September 13th, against the Padres, he allowed, 4 earned on, 2 bombs. Yeah. 6 hits allowed. No big deal. But we haven't seen that snowball effect happen that way. But Lance Lynn, that's happened more times than not, where he's prone to giving up the long ball in bunches. Like that stuff against Miami was horrific. That was terrible. So that's how it can go south real fast. And especially because he's so fastball dominant, when it's just not there, it's not there. Yeah. So I think that I lend a little bit more to Pepiot at the moment, because I think 6 outings is enough for me. Yeah. Like enough for me to see that. And it's all been as of late. Like it's been real compacted. Like that's been since, our August, a month ago. He's been pitching exactly like this, and he looks solid. He's not generating like a ton of strikeouts, but I couldn't care less. He's getting outs. He's missing barrels. I have him ahead of Lance Lynn, and I don't know, like, sure, veteran presence, Lance Lynn, whatever. Like if that's what they go with, that's what they go with. But it can go south real fast for Lance Lynn, and that's just something I haven't seen from Pepiot, which is why I have him ahead of him.
So Pepiot, if you look at his StatCast page, he doesn't have enough like innings to actually qualify on these things. But one of the things I love about Baseball Savant, what they've done recently, is they kind of shade it out so you can see where they would rank if they qualified, even if you don't get an actual percentile ranking.
Love it.
Everything on Pepiot's page is red. I mean, like every number up there is where you wanted to see it. Expected ERA is 2.83. That's fantastic. But average exit velocity is going to be elite. Chase rate is elite, walk rate is elite, barrel rate elite, hard hit rate elite. I mean, look, for context, his walk rate right now coming into tonight was 2%. The guy who's first in the league is 2.6%. So obviously it's a small sample size. He does not deserve to qualify. Pepiot, whose biggest issue was walking batters, would have the best walk rate in all of Major League Baseball if he qualified. That to me.
What are we talking about here then? Yeah, what are we talking here, Jeff?
I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, let's get to Gratterall real quick, because it wasn't just Ferguson. It wasn't just Pepiot, but Gratterall comes in. Just a cool moment. I mean, this is more an off the field story, but Gratterall comes in the 8th, perfect inning, 1, 2, 3. But the story was, if you weren't watching the broadcast, Gratterall's mom was at the game. It was the first time that she got to see him pitch as a professional. They hadn't seen each other in 7 years. So he had a kid. She hadn't met the kid. She's in Dodger Stadium. Gratterall's on the mound. You could tell he's feeling it a little bit. And there's a great story that Juan Toribio wrote on MLB.com. Joe Davis told part of it, just about how basically Gratterall quit everything like as a 14-year-old to try and make it as a Major League Baseball player. He went to a tryout. They said, hey, it's not good enough. Come back in a month. We'll give you another chance. And basically he and his mom woke up at 5 a.m. and just grinded for a month to try and get stronger, throw harder. He comes back. He gets $150,000 signing bonus from the Twins. So his relationship with his mom is special. He gets the 1, 2, 3. He points up to his mom and then just loses it, crying into his glove over the face. They cut to it after the commercial. He's hugging Dave Roberts and just like sobbing on his shoulder. Yeah. Just incredible stuff. The only thing we missed tonight, Scott, was getting Brusdar a win. That was what I felt like we needed more than anything else. But just an amazing, like sort of non-baseball related at all moment for Gratterall there.
No, I mean, it's hard not to be romantic about baseball, buddy. Like, that there's still a shot out there. If you haven't seen it, I know Chad Moriyama tweeted that out. I'll retweet that right now. If you haven't seen it, there's a shot with, Brusdar and Dave, arm in arm, pointing up
Yeah.
at his mom. That's some chills type of stuff. Beautiful moments. It's why we watch, right? It's why we're fans. And especially on this type of stage, I can't say enough about it. It's just,
Yeah.
that's incredible stuff. I love how they, really highlight that. There's been a lot of stories like this with the Dodgers, reclamation guys, guys finding stuff, and Dodgers taking a chance on him in the trade a few years ago. And I'm glad he's here. I've, doubted him on his ability to develop secondary pitches, but he has turned himself into one of the most reliable relievers on the roster. And I'm damn happy he's here.
Yeah, I'm with you. Vesia comes in, who we've talked about already. He gets a perfect inning there for the Dodgers. And then again, the big moment, Max Muncy. The Dodgers rallying there. Muncy was the big swing, but the rally that the Dodgers put together in the bottom of the ninth, Colton Wong grounds out. Mookie gets the single. Freddie Freeman lines out. Will Smith hit by pitch, runners at first and second. And with 2 outs, Max Muncy lines a ball to right field. And we've talked about it. A great bit of hitting from Muncy, who, by the way, had first and third in the first inning and struck out. So had a chance to cash in the first. Didn't get it. Was 0 for 4 coming into that at bat. Lines one to right field. But, I mean, look, Scott, I know I've said it 100 times. I cannot get over Mookie Betts. That ball was 110 miles an hour to right field on a hop. Like, perfectly set up. If you're the right fielder, that ball could not have come at you any harder or bounced up any more perfectly. And yet Mookie Betts got on his damn horse and scored to walk this one off. Perfect slide to home, gets to the closest corner of home plate there.
Yeah.
And it's a walk-off, and just incredible stuff. I just love it. I mean, again, it's a Tuesday night in September. They're not playing for anything, and the Dodgers with the walk-off win. It's just beautiful stuff.
Yeah, no. Will Smith right before that gets beaten by one, and wear it. Sorry, Billy. I'm gonna get you on the Billy Barrows thing, man. Billy Barrows wears one. He's been beat up this year, dude. Ribs and all. Gets on there, gets Mookie in scoring position, and Max Muncy just absolutely missiles that curveball into right field. So
yeah,
and that's not a soft curveball. It's a 90-mile-an-hour curveball essentially. So just a terrific way to end it. It's good to see Max. He looks great. Just at bat quality, up and down, has been terrific. Doesn't look like they're giving much away at the moment. Even Hayward against a lefty, you'll see some silly swings, but they're getting bat on ball. So this is definitely a welcome change. Yeah. We'll touch base on this next week, and I'll do some, looking back on last year to see how they were doing. What was their, whiff rate going down the stretch? And it just doesn't feel like they're doing that right now. It feels like they're taking a completely different approach to how they're looking at this. And I don't care that if it doesn't happen early on, as long as it happens, as long as at some point in the game they flip that switch and understand, it's time for situational hitting. And Mookie Betts is a perfect example, because the last few days, he's been absolutely just line drives. You can tell he's been getting into it, and just stuff wasn't falling. Tonight has a couple knocks, just looks really great. But there's one moment we haven't talked about. CT3 stealing that huge bag.
I saw someone in the chat. You weren't here earlier, in the chat, when we talked about it, because it was a big moment where he pinch runs for JD Martinez. I want to get to some quotes real quick, though. Blake is in the clubhouse and has some quotes from Gratterall and some other folks. So let's get to these. He said, Gratterall's thankful his mom was able to come to the game. They never gave up on trying to get her here. It's been a 7-year process that sped up over the last 2 weeks. His wife sent him a picture of where they were sitting, so he knew where they were. He said a lot of memories and emotions going through his head, but once he got on the mound and the music started, he felt ready. Had a lot of happy tears. Quote, I've always wanted to be an example for her and for her to be proud of me, he said. Said he was paralyzed in the moment when he first saw his mom and just embraced her. She commented on how much he's grown. She last saw him pitch in the Dominican Republic in 2015. Wow. She's staying through the end of the season, though, quote, hopefully to celebrate the World Series. So love to hear that. Dave Roberts, quote, it was emotional. You sort of get into game mode, but how can you not appreciate the moment for Brewstar, his mom, and his family? It was a special moment, one of the top I've ever been a part of. Said he knew that Brewstar's mom was here because he had seen a video of them at the airport. And then JD Martinez said that Gratterall's a big teddy bear. And then some good quotes. You might not like this one, Scott, but he joked, I love Detroit. Can't say that about Houston, but Detroit I loved. So there you go, Scott. Sorry for the Astros strays you had to catch there. But can you still like JD Martinez, even though he didn't like Houston?
I hate Houston, but you got to respect player development when player development's there, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's get to some players of the game. Folks that are joining us live, you can always chime in here and join us in this one. We do a podium here because there is, sometimes it's not, there's options. We'll put it that way. A night like tonight, Scott, again, I'll just go through the box score so people remember. You've got Pepiot with the 6 innings of 1 run ball. You've got Gratterall and Vesia with a couple perfect innings in the 8th and 9th. Then on the offensive side, Mookie Betts, 3 for 5, scores the biggest run. Freddie Freeman, 2 for 5. Max Muncy with the walk-off. JD, 2 for 2 with 2 walks and a home run. And as we mentioned, Chris Taylor getting that stolen base and scoring a run was a huge play in the game as well. So this is a tough one, Scott. I think you could go a bunch of different directions here.
Yeah.
I'll let you go first. Who's your number one player of the game?
I'm really gonna take Pepiot, man.
Okay.
Like I'm on the pitching train. Like I really want to see these guys, in a year that we do not have the, big guys at the front end of the rotation. It's the young arms that are coming to play, and they're just continuing to, build on this. And I enjoy that a lot. So I'm going to say Pepiot 1, gives him 6 innings. I just can't get over, how composed he was in his final frame. Goes out there, doesn't let the moment get too big, gets a pop out, ended on a good note. And, 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run. You got to love that.
Yeah. I'm gonna zag a little. I'm gonna go JD Martinez, number 1 spot. You reach base 4 times, 2 hits, 2 walks, the home run. The guy stays hot. So I'm gonna go JD 1. I'll go Pepiot 2, and then give me Mookie Betts 3 hits, and the run that he scores. I mean, look, I want to give Muncy all the credit in the world for the 2-out single. Somehow I'm more impressed that Mookie Betts scored on that hit than I am with the hit itself. Yeah. Obviously, Muncy 0 for 4 ahead of that, but I'm going to go JD, Pepiot, and Mookie Betts for me.
I'm going to go JD number 2. Okay. I'm going to say JD number 2. Just continue to hit. Keeps being all he's done since he's been back. I know Blake said that JD told the media that he's been feeling great these last few days. He wasn't feeling good coming off the IL, but I think it's JD. He's just such a linchpin in this lineup. He makes everyone around him better. Will Smith has looked better. He's been getting better pitching. Yeah. And just the key word there. It's a trickle-down effect from JD. Everybody benefits. It's going to help Freddie Freeman right there, Max Muncy especially. So I think for me, like I could have, if you asked, if I'm not on so high in pitching at the moment, I would have said JD 1. I think he's that important to the lineup, but JD's number 2 for me tonight.
Okay, who you got number 3? You're going to go Mookie? You're going to go Bruce Gratterall's mom? That was a suggestion, which I think, hey, kudos to that one. You could go Gratterall and Vesia. I guess, the rules are you're allowed to do more than one player here. So
I'm going to say Mookie, but Freddie Freeman's a real close number 3. Also, he just continues to rack up the doubles, multi-hit game. Stay hot, Freddie.
Yeah. All right. Bruce Gratterall's mom gets honorable mention on mine. Chris Taylor as well. Again, apologies if you missed it at the beginning of the show when we referenced it, but they mentioned it on the broadcast. Taylor comes in, JD Martinez gets a 2-out single. He gets pinch run for, and Taylor comes in, and they're talking, hey, you know what? He's been more aggressive on the bases lately. He's taken a big lead there, and first pitch, he's gone easily safe. And look, it's a ground rule double by Peralta that I believe they've changed the rules where it's kind of a judgment call on, like, if Taylor had been on first, I think it's an umpire judgment call on whether or not they would wanted to award him home. But because he had stolen second base, he took the call out of the umpire's hands. Had that ball stayed in play, by the way, that ball might not have stopped. I mean, the outfielder made the most aggressive line, and that ball bounced right past him. It would have rolled all the way into the corner.
Yes.
Peralta may have still been running, but again, a huge play there from Chris Taylor. So there we go. I love Michael wants to know if Blake is hiding tonight. He's in the clubhouse, so he's got a good excuse. We'll say that he's got a good excuse for why he's not here. It's bucket hat, on the other hand, to be determined on where his bucket hat is. Hopefully not in the clubhouse. Hopefully that's not his work attire. Anything else from this game, Scott, before we get to some questions here? I mean, anything else that jumps out to you? We could do, let me give a quick recap. Again, the Dodgers bases loaded in the first. Max Muncy strikes out with runners on first and third, and then Peralta grounds out on what almost a great play by the second baseman to keep that a 0-0 game. Excuse me, a 1-0 game. Ferguson had given up a home run in the top of the first. Pepiot comes in the second, gives up a home run in the third, the only run that he would allow. JD gets one back in the fourth. And then again, the 7th was the only other time the Dodgers really threatened. That was their first runner in scoring position since the first. Freddie Freeman had a 3-1 count with runners on first and second, grounds into a double play. He had 2 3-1 counts tonight, Scott, where he made an out. And you almost never see that with Freddie Freeman. You feel like in that count, it is just automatic, but couldn't get anything done there. In the bottom of the 8th, JD the hit, Taylor the steal, Peralta the game-tying double. And then, of course, in the 9th, you had the hit from Mookie, you had the hit by pitch from Will Smith, and then the walk-off from Max Muncy. Anything else from this game that we need to touch on before we get to questions?
Dave Roberts.
Okay. Yeah. Some people had him in player of the game
Continuing-
as a nominee. So yeah, talk to me about that.
Pushing some right buttons here. I like how they've, kind of had this. You're going to hear a lot about it. The roadmap to 27 outs. I like what they're setting up. I like the aggressive style of play, understanding that, you need that guy in scoring position because a base hit, is coming. Like Peralta in that spot. He's going to catch. He's going to find a hole. I like that. Taylor's not on second base. Run doesn't score. He steals that bag. A single still gets him. So I like this style that they're managing right now. I like that they're not managing on field, but they're managing on, understanding that these moments are going to come in the postseason. Yeah. That when Ryan Pepiot says he's in a game 3, he's starting that. That's what we're talking into existence. Jeff, we're going to do it.
I've been on that train for a while. I hope it happens.
Let's do it, buddy. That when that happens, the instinct is not to say he hasn't been in this moment. He hasn't had it. No, let's pause. Let's get the bullpen up, bring somebody else in. Yeah. So that for me, for Dave to do that, in conjunction with the, pitching staff, Mark Pryor, let him work through it.
Yeah.
Just, Dave Roberts, honorable mention tonight. He's number 5 and we'll stay right there. Number 6 behind Bruzar's mom. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Dave,
and
it's interesting too. It's interesting too, because like on Sunday's show, I was with Matt, I was running through all the young pitchers and their performances, and it was like Stone and Bobby Miller. And I was like, put an asterisk next to both of these guys, because both guys got left in 1 inning too long.
Yeah.
And ended up giving up, Stone had given up like 5 hits and then he gave up 4 more in that last inning. Bobby Miller is the same thing. It was a good looking outing and then it was a bad looking outing. And I was like, hey, I wasn't so much critical of Dave Roberts. It probably a little bit critical, but it was more so like, I just wanted to put in perspective what those guys' lines were. But tonight it was the same thing. Like you can tell there's an emphasis on, we want to find the limits that these guys have and
Sure.
what capacity do they have to actually be a run preventer and to work through a jam, even when you don't have the A+ stuff. So on a night like tonight, those are the nights when you try it, and kudos. I'm with you. I mean, Dave, the Ferguson decision, I wouldn't say it worked out. It wasn't the end of the world. 1 earned run in the first inning is not what you want. But Pepiot coming in the second, they trust him there. He gets the job done. They leave him in through the 7th, gets the job done. Then they go to Bruzar, they go to Vesia. Both those guys put up perfect innings. I mean, look, one decision was the Chris Taylor decision.
Yep.
JD Martinez reached base all 4 times. You've got 2 outs. And what does he do? He puts in a pinch runner and he says, hey, go steal second base. What does Chris Taylor do? Exactly
steal second base. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Peralta comes in and gets the double. And that was against a lefty, right? Did we decide that was a lefty in to face Peralta, or was that a right? No, it was a righty. Right? The last guy the Tigers had in?
Yes.
Yeah. Langy, however they pronounce his name. Yeah, it was a righty. That's right. That's right. It was a righty.
He's their closer.
But just anyways, good stuff from Dave Roberts. Let's get to some questions here. If you've got any questions, all caps question in there. We will get to as many of those as we possibly can. This one from Alleluia. How big of an impact has the Yarbrough trade been, given Dave Roberts the opportunity in the playoffs to use the bullpen more since he's a long reliever? Fabian Ardaya had this stat. The lowest ERA post-deadline of any starter or bulk guy was Ryan Yarbrough, 2.90. Any starting pitcher that was traded at the deadline who has thrown 30 or more innings, the best ERA of all of them is Ryan Yarbrough. Your thoughts?
Ho hum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who saw that coming? I don't know. Anyone in the chat, anyone watching, could you have confidently told me that after all the rage that you endured, that they didn't acquire any big guy, Yarbrough was going to be the one that has just absolutely dominated and instantly going to a bulk guy. Here you go. Yeah. You're coming out of the bullpen. This is your spot. And he's done nothing but excel. It's great.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Lance Brozdowski, who we had on, he had an article on his Substack recently talking about some of the pitch mix changes that they've made with Yarbrough. He's going to come on our show later in this week to talk through, among other things, that. I'm really excited to talk to him about that because nobody's talking about how good Yarbrough's been. But to Ardia's point, he's been the best bulk guy, starter/bulk guy that was traded at the deadline, which is pretty crazy stuff. TQT, are they going to keep Smith in the 3 spot? I'd flip JD with Smith, which keeps the right left lineup construction intact. So right now they've got JD 5th, Will Smith 3rd. We talked about this a little on Sunday. Matt was pointing out that the 5th spot statistically is actually a big RBI spot there. But what would you do lineup wise? Would you leave Smith where he is, or would you flip that so that you get JD Martinez up closer to Mookie and Freddie?
Ooh, it's a good conversation to have. I think that they like keeping Will Smith in there just because that you saw tonight that they will, if they do need to take out, JD, they will.
Yeah.
I think that that's what they like to do. They'd rather push those spots down the order. And even if it's one spot, that's okay with them. But
Yeah.
I really do like, keeping Will Smith where he's at. Or sorry, JD at 5. I apologize. I like JD there. I think that the at-bat quality they're giving Will Smith at the moment, and then you get Muncy. I enjoy it. I think that's good. It provides, a nice left-right split. I like that a lot, and so do they. But it's just putting JD up there would certainly give them more opportunities, but I don't want to rock the boat at this point of the season. I like keeping it where it's at. If guys are coming into their own this late in the year, let's let them get comfortable knowing that, the plan is he's in front. Let's keep it there. I would keep it the same way.
Yeah, I mean, and look, Will Smith, 1 for 4 tonight. I thought he had some good at-bats, lined a couple balls, got a big hit by pitch, etc. Ederico asks, Muncy's stats are much better this year, especially the 210 batting average, 35 home runs. Chris Taylor now hitting 236, JD's big moments, Hayward's resurgence. How should Dodger fans look at their contributions? I would say this. I mean, I never soured on Muncy. I know batting average people hated Max Muncy's line, but he has always been an above average positive offensive player. Even with that, the fact that it's well above 200 now, I guess everybody can be happy now that Max Muncy is hitting better. And obviously, I don't mean to diminish that. Max Muncy's been really good. We talked about this on Sunday. The last 30 days prior to our show, he had an OPS over 900, a 141 weighted runs created plus. He's on fire. And Chris Taylor was actually the 4th best Dodger over the last 30 days, hitting 317 with an 895 OPS for the 30-day stretch ahead of Sunday. So these guys, I said on Sunday, Scott, are all hitting their stride at the perfect time. JD Martinez, Hayward's been the number 2 hitter. He's been better than Freddie Freeman over the last 30 days, as crazy as that sounds. Peralta with the big RBI double. I mean, just guys, it feels like everybody is chipping in now for the Dodgers.
Yeah, no, it got, they're contributors. It got kind of murky there for, say Kike, Rosario. It's big that Chris Taylor's come alive. We talked about how unfortunate it was that Chris Taylor, for how consistent he's been, was, kind of trending down. But this last little bit is happening at a perfect time. Jason Hayward, man, having a career year at this point. It just, he's where he likes to be. He's where he wants to be. And it just can't say enough about him, hitting the ball hard every single time. I liked that they were giving him an opportunity against lefties and didn't immediately go to, I'm sure they expected that, left-handed advantage for the Tigers to change at some point. But Jason Hayward feels like he's at a spot where he needs to be in there every single day. You got to try to get him in there. So I like that. Jason Hayward's resurgence, Ederico, man, that's for me. It's been one of the bright spots of the entire season. He's playing a solid outfield, providing just fantastic at bats, and it just seems like he hits the ball hard every single time.
Yeah. Derek wants to know, how realistic is it that Daniel Hudson will be back in time for the playoffs? This is another thing that Dave Roberts was asked about before the game. He did a live batting practice today, and Dave Roberts, I wouldn't say he sounded optimistic. He didn't sound pessimistic, I guess is the best way to put it. He said they're going to reevaluate in the next 4 or 5 days, want to see how he feels, see how he bounces back. But he basically said, he didn't he didn't close the door on Hudson coming back at some point this season. I think he described it as a long shot, but he said, hey, every milestone you check, it gets a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter. And he made the point, like, the thing the Dodgers are planning for is they're not trying to get their best team. They're thinking that their season is going to last into mid, late October, beginning of November. So with a guy like Daniel Hudson, it's not, hey, pull off the brakes on the car and just get this thing back on the tracks before October 2nd. It's, hey, if what we need to do is get this guy ready and fully dialed, and he's not going to be ready till October 10th and the NLCS, then that's what we'll do, because we're hoping we're still playing there. So we don't have a huge update other than that he threw a live BP, which is a positive thing. Dave didn't know velocity. They don't know how he's going to feel yet. So those are the things to keep an eye out for the next few days.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave said, just like give it a couple of days, but that's a long game you have to play with a guy like him. There's not a big landing strip here where there's in minor league balls wrapping up. You don't really have somewhere you'd send him out to, Arizona, go get some reps there, stay with the team, stay out at the facility in AZ if that's where he's at, and try to find it, because it'll be really difficult for him to find like a live game scenario. You're going to have to simulate that if there's not anything there, anywhere for him to play. But to get a guy like Daniel Hudson, who's had just ridiculous postseason experience, he's, won a World Series, man. Like, we've seen him pitch in a high level. Yeah, absolutely. So he would be a joy to have in that bullpen. I just want to make sure that they're being smart with it. And I don't think that the Dodgers will rush anyone back. It'll be in full confidence that he's able to pitch healthy. But if he's, has a little bit of time, has a runway, I don't think that they would hesitate to, add him to a roster if he's ready to go for a CS series.
And all the guys, like, I don't need Daniel Hudson to have 2 rehab appearances. Like, I'm not worried about him needing to adjust to game speed. He's a vet. He's been there a million times. So if there's anybody out there, he's the type of guy I would say, hey, if you feel good about him, I don't need to see him against, somebody else. Dong says he knows you love food questions, so he's got a pizza question for you here, Scott. Rank these from best to worst: Detroit style pizza, New York thin crust pizza, and Chicago deep dish pizza. You want to go first?
You're asking the guy, not a big cheese guy. That one. Can you answer that?
I couldn't remember if you. So pizza, you're not a
cheese guy. I'll eat pizza, but like, I'm just gonna say I love New York thin crust. Never had Detroit, and I've had deep dish. So I'm just gonna, guys. This is just me based on what I've had. Not one. I'm sure they're all great in their own right, but I'm gonna say New York, Chicago, Detroit. What's Detroit?
Okay. Detroit is like it's thick crust. It typically has like sauce on top, but then the sides of it are like, I don't know how to describe it, but I actually think Detroit, I've had it like 2 or 3 times in the last like 9 months.
Was it memorable?
I think it's my favorite. I love it.
Okay. All right.
I love it. So I've got Detroit 1, deep dish 2, and thin crust 3. And I would bet, I can't see the bottom of the chat. I would bet money that Moreno hates that take. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that Moreno is a thin crust guy. No doubt in my mind that he's a thin crust guy.
Oh, it's it's like a pan pizza, and I'm good on that, man.
Well, it's a deep dish. Yeah,
3.
Yeah.
That's number 3.
It's great. It's great. So there you go.
Great.
Big stuff there.
Mid.
Here we go. JRM wants to know, do you think Bobby Miller is capable of a 2003 Josh Beckett type run? Just one of the all-time great playoff runs of all time. How high are your expectations for Bobby Miller come postseason time?
I have a lot of hope for him. I feel like he has the intensity to play in October. The biggest question for Bobby is if the moment is going to be too big for him. If he's able to get past that first inning where he's, allowed multi-run things, even as I am walking up to the stadium, if he's able to get over that hump there in the first, and then he can cruise, find a groove, find what's working that day. Because as the season's gone on, you've seen his changeup, you've seen his secondary stuff really, find that conviction. So it's more so on Bobby if he's able to, hone that intensity and understand that the moment is postseason baseball, because what Walker Buehler did early on in his career, game 163 type stuff all the way through 2018 World Series. Is he capable of that? We'll see, but he definitely has the stuff, and he has had moments where it can be possible. He's just got to put it all together. So I'm sure. Capable of Josh Beckett all time.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be fine.
No, I'm saying Josh Beckett's run in 2003, like taking his team to a World Series.
I mean, that's an anchur type stuff, but sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I mean. I'm not calling Josh Beckett an all-time major league pitcher. I'm saying,
I know what you
asking,
mean.
Is Bobby Miller going to be, I think Bobby Miller is going to be fine.
Sure.
Like, I don't think he's going to be like, he's not going to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated by the end of this thing. I don't even know if Sports Illustrated still exists, but like, I don't think he's going to be that, but I also don't think he's going to be a total disaster. I think he's going to be like a 3.5 to 4 ERA guy, and you're going to take it, and it's going to be fine because he's going to give you 5 innings and 2 or 3 earned runs, and you take it from there.
You're going to find out what a lot of these young arms are made of, and
Yeah.
for the tests that they've been put through, you've only seen, Gavin Stone's the only one who had that quick rise and didn't really step up to it, and he's had to kind of go down and figure it out. But Bobby Miller's been able to stay up, and he's turned kind of the horse of the staff. He's been out there the entire time. Where's Bobby? When's it going to the rotation going to turn over? And that speaks volumes to what the Dodgers think of him. So yeah, give it to me, man.
Howie wants to know, do you think it's a positive that Pepiot missed most of the season?
It's a good point.
I mean, they did this to Bobby Miller on purpose. They held him back on purpose. Pepiot, obviously, they didn't do on purpose, and he missed, whatever it was, 3/4 of the season. But no worries about inning limits with Ryan Pepiot.
Yeah, I remember when you spoke with, Bobby in spring, and he gave that odd quote that he wasn't ready, he wasn't going to start it off right away. So, they gave the blueprint. Do I think it was to Pepiot's benefit? I'm sure he would have liked to get some from his viewpoint early on. He would like to be out there, but in terms of his workload on his arm, sure. Like, it definitely benefits the Dodgers, and I'm sure he's not upset about it now because he's pitching incredibly meaningful innings and his stuff looks as good as ever. And he's probably in a spot where, barring other circumstances, he's at a point where we're talking about a number 3 arm in a postseason starting rotation.
I know,
for a guy who was a fringe starter at one point of, a pretty crowded.
Yeah. And a top 3 World Series favorite, by the way, not just limping into the playoffs, Arizona Diamondbacks here,
Yeah, man. How many wins are they projected on now? Regular season wins doesn't matter, but for the bar of
over 100, I think they're on pace for over 100 now.
Talk to us, Blake.
Yeah. Where you at? Ice Queen wants to know, Friedman and the think tank group the best at finding diamonds in the rough. I mean, obviously they're not perfect, but I mean, Ryan Yarbrough literally happened, 3:59, whatever time the trade deadline was, it happened 1 minute before, and nobody batted an eye. Ahmed Rosario, they got for Noah Syndergaard. Kike Hernandez off the scrap heap. Look, I mean, the Syndergaard, they failed, right? They failed in some of these. Like, Syndergaard didn't work out. Some of the guys they've tried, but it sure seems like it. I mean, I follow this team infinitely closer than any other team, but I don't know how many other teams are going out there and finding Ryan Brazier and Ryan Yarbrough and just penciling them into huge spots.
I think that, I love player development. I think David Stearns, fantastic with that. I think the Mets got a real good one. He's worth every single penny. The Milwaukee Brewers are one of the best as well. I'd put them up there. At one point, the Guardians, same type of thing, but Dodgers in terms of position players, able to squeeze every little bit out, and really find out what they do best. Dodgers, for me, I mean, we've seen it just firsthand. That's why. So, the Dodgers right up there, but Brewers real close second.
Okay, Michael's got another food question for you, Scott. Favorite food after a Dodgers win? You're drinking a Prime. You've got a Prime in one hand, a kombucha in the other hand.
Prime right now. Prime's great. I don't like the coconut water
one. Prime in our kombucha.
After a win,
PB&J, is that what I heard? You're a big PB&J guy?
I've been, we're doing, we're on a little bit of a cut. We're not doing too much carbs at the moment, but I'm all about I got these lime ice pop bars. Those are great, man. That's, nice little celebratory ice,
dessert.
Little lime ice bar. Talk to me. I'll eat half a box and feel great about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, lime ice bars. I like it. Yep. Are you Blake said you were a PB&J guy, but that was non. Are you? I wanted to ask you what kind of jam we're throwing on there. Are we doing grape? Are we strawberry?
Strawberry. But I went through a period like a year ago where I was eating like 2 PB&Js a day, and that was crazy. But if I could have it, I would have like some chicken tacos, man, or it's like some Al Pastor chicken tacos. Yeah, Al Pastor tacos would be great right now.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, I could just crush a fast food burger like late at night, because we're talking like late at night. Just give me like, Carl's Jr., whatever they got going on. Just give me one of those. Sounds great to me. All right, let's see. I think we had one other question here. Oh, somebody asked if you could have a cup of coffee with any Dodger, who would it be? That's a good one. We'll get out on that one.
All time?
I mean, I don't know. Let's go current team.
Mookie.
Yeah, what a guy.
Mookie, what a guy.
Kirsch. It's got to be Kirsch for me.
Kirsch? That's not bad. All time? What about you? Who all time?
I mean, honestly, it might be Kirsch all time. I freaking love the guy. He's just the GOAT, man. Like he's literally the best ERA in Major League history. Post dead ball.
Like I've got to yeah, I'm with you. That'd be great. The way he speaks about the game, I love it. But I mean, aside from me having a Jackie Robinson tattoo, like I would love that. Like that would be something. But I'd really like to speak with, either Campy or Sandy Koufax. Guys who look at the game from a different way, a real talk, very poetic about their playing careers and how they see things. And that's for me. Now I would say, Jackie, Sandy, or Campy, man. Yeah.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Matt wants to point out that traditionalist Jeff loves pitcher wins and ERA. ERA is still a real stat, Matt. Like wins is another
so
stat.
Funny,
I didn't say wins.
I love you, man.
ERA is a real stat, Matt. Just get your RBIs and your pitcher wins out of here, Moreno. Right? Your eye test, whatever. Big stolen base guy, Moreno. Probably loves the Acuna stats. Just loves the stolen bases from that guy.
Shout out to Acuna, though, man. Great season. He's going crazy right now.
2 home runs today. He's closing. He's closing. The stats on the gap between him and Mookie, it's not because Mookie's been terrible. It's just because Acuna continues to be on another level. Coming into today, it was down. The wins above replacement, 0.6 was the gap, but Acuna hit 2 home runs today, so that'll probably close by a little bit. So I did want the win for Gratterall, Matt. Come on, geez, this is an emotional thing. Geez, just crapping on Gratterall tonight. What a guy, Moreno. Geez, Louise,
classy.
Anyways, well, hey folks, we appreciate you joining us. A walk-off win for the Dodgers. How about that one? This felt like a game that might last 4 hours, Scott. It felt like nobody was going to score, and then what do you know? Dodgers win. Mookie walk off. Jeff cashes a parlay. No big deal, Scott.
I know somebody called me out in the chat earlier for not saying it, but just another gritty win. Gritty Dodgers. Blake. They tried to call me out on it. You guys, Moreno, Blake, and guess what? Guess who rang the bell? Guess who answered the call? The gritty
Dodgers, baby. 3-2 over the Tigers. Hey, we appreciate everybody joining us. That's Scott Geirman. My name is Jeff Spiegel. As always, check out Dodger Blue 1958 on YouTube. Right here, subscribe, ring the notification bell. As soon as we're done, we'll have all the videos uploaded from post-game interviews from inside the clubhouse. Blake is there recording, so that'll be good. And then check out DodgerBlue.com for a full recap, as well as tomorrow morning, kind of a social media highlights type recap. So good stuff. Tons of stuff from Scott as well. You want to read some of Scott's writing? Check out DodgerBlue.com. Enjoy the rest of your night, folks. Dodgers win, walk off. Max Muncy, Mookie Betts scores 3-2 over the Detroit Tigers. Go Dodgers.